Hello, welcome to another GoldMine 101, our regular series of short presentations giving you hints and tips for getting the most out of GoldMine CRM. And in this session, I'm going to walk you through a really simple automated process. Hopefully, you saw our last two presentations as an introduction, an intro into automated processes in GoldMine. So this is a little bit of a follow-up. And if you've never dabbled in automated processes before, then this process I'm gonna walk you through could be a really simple one to cut your teeth on. A key focus of GoldMine, of course, for most users, most organizations, is the recording of new inquiries and then the kind of normal follow-ups that you'll go through. This example process is one that will ensure every new lead is followed up. So just imagine the scenario, we take an inquiry and then we want to make sure that a salesperson has a scheduled call to follow up that new contact, that new lead. So before I dive into it, just a brief intro. My name is Tim Wilmot. My company Wizard Systems, we're a specialist CRM solutions provider, and we help out small and mid-sized organizations improve their sales productivity, marketing, and customer service through the use of simple and affordable solutions like GoldMine. Now, the audio part of this presentation is one way only. If you've got a question on this, anything to do with automated processes, then pop that into the question section and I'll do my best to answer at the end. Duration wise, we'll probably be done in about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour. As I said, it's just a brief intro into an example automated process. Bit more information on us. Wizard Systems, we're a leading supplier of GoldMine. We've been doing it many, many years now, 30 plus years. And as a leading CRM solutions provider, we actually offer, we're not a one product company. We do offer other solutions, very different from GoldMine and what they do, what they look like, how you pay for them, how you access them. And the key benefit is that we as a multi-solution provider, we can make sure that as your needs change, as we get inquiries from different businesses, we can match the right system to the right sort of company. But as regards GoldMine, we're a one-stop shop. Anything to do with GoldMine, you come to us. Upgrades, extra licenses, implementation, customization, training, your place or our place online, and all the ongoing support as well. Okay, let's dive into GoldMine then. Little bit of orientation here, an example record, and we have the processes tab. Remember from our last session, our little intro sessions, that's where we're going to see the one or many processes that this contact is on. Anyway, so we create a new record and we want to make sure that on the pending tab, we create a follow-up call. We want to make sure every time we create a new lead, we've got a follow-up. Now, what I'm describing is going to be just an example. Every organization will have different ways of handling new inquiries, different processes, ideas for following up these new leads. So this is just an example. I'm going to keep it dead simple. Right. We want to create a new automated process. I'm going to walk you through step by step the creation of the process, applying it, and then we'll see the results of it very shortly. Anyway, an automated process, or if I go to tools, automated processes, managed processes, that's where we see the automated process center. That's where we see all of the existing processes that we've got configured in this GoldMine system based on the user. I'm going to create a brand new process. So I click on this little icon here, or I can right click here. Create the new process. Welcome to the automated process wizard. We give the process a name, which will help us recognize it as we get more and more process. We want to have something quite meaningful that describes what this process is going to do. So I'm just going to call it new lead. We could apply a code, not absolutely necessary. and give some thought as regards where you're going to plonk this new process. Is it going to be general public area or just for your eyes only? We can do that there. This is a very important step here, the process options. We've got 6 options here. I'm going to check this second one. We're going to, you'll see why in a minute. We're gonna action on this process. We're going to process these events immediately when we attach the process to a new record, this newly created record. Next, that one there, we're going to allow our users, in this example, we're going to let everyone else attach this process to new records. And finally, this bottom one, attach this process to all newly created contact records. Please note that this option is only available for one process in your GoldMine system. If you create another process and you check that box, it will warn you to say, okay, well, this process will now be applied to this new process, but the other one that you had, it will be disabled. All right, so just bear that in mind. So those three check boxes checked. Next, remember that every process consists of one or more events, and within the event, there's triggers and actions. In my simple example, there's only going to be one event. We're going to create the new phone call when we create this new lead, a follow-up phone call. So my event description, again, something meaningful. It could be the actual subject of the phone call. So chase new lead, for example. Don't worry about this bit over in the top right-hand corner here, sequential and preemptive, as you get more into automated process. We did kind of touch on this on our last session, sequential and preemptive events. Basically, preemptive events, when you got lots of events in a process, you can have these preemptive events that they're a bit like checking events. Every time you run this process, it's going to check for lots of little things that you put in there to make sure, essentially it's going to make sure that this process is still valid for that record it's attached to. For this simple example though, today, just going to select sequential, don't worry about the sequence number. Right, trigger. When are we going to trigger the action that we select very shortly? In my example here, I'm going to select immediately. It could be elapsed days. When you get more into process, you might have elapsed days. So you get the new lead, and then maybe a few days later, you followed up with a phone call. In my example, though, just so that you can see it all happening straight away, I'm going to select immediate. Next, what action do we want to take place? Loads of choices there. In this example, I'm going to schedule an activity. We're going to schedule a phone call. What are the options on that phone call? Well, I click on the options button here, and this is where I can select the activity. By default, we've got a phone call, a callback selected, but you can see there the other types of actions that you might create. User. Of course, with GoldMine, every activity has to be done by someone, an assigned user. So normally a phone call will be done by one person. Now in this example, I'm imagining here that whoever creates the new lead, whoever types in that new record, they're going to be the person that's going to do that phone call. It might be, in my example, a logged user. I'm currently logged on as student 1, all right? So it's going to go to student 1, one of those two there. But of course, thinking in reality, when people are putting on new leads, maybe the new lead is put on by a sales administrator, we need to think, okay, well, that sales administrator, they're not going to do the phone call. It's going to be done by a salesperson. So you need to think about, the user that's going to do that. There's activity details there where you can click on and fine tune the call details. If you're using call codes and you want to alarm it, you can click on there and you get the normal schedule a call dialog box where you can fine tune those options. Just so that you can see things happening straight away in this little demo, I'm going to schedule this phone call in a number of days' time. Maybe we put the new lead on and we allow the prospect 4 days to think things over, and then we want the new phone call scheduled in 4 days' time. Notice we can skip weekends as well. Click OK. That's the event trigger and action created. Click OK. That's my event there. I could create new events, but in my simple one here, this is one event. All right, so we just click next here, just walk through the wizard, and then finally finish. There is my new lead process defined for everyone to see. Now, to make sure it works, and this is always good practice when you create a new process, to make sure it works against a new, in this example, against a new record, or you may have some test records in your GoldMine system. So you'll want to change the record to make sure that whatever trigger conditions you've got, they're going to take place. You can just make sure everything is going to work as expected before you roll it out and you communicate it to all of your colleagues about this wonderful new process. So I'm going to create a new record here, a new contact record. So click new. I can see in this system I've got a few mandatory fields. So we've got job title here, whatever it might be. Let's put in someone's name. And we've got a city as a required field as well. Select that from the drop-down list. We've got source of this inquiry. Always a good idea to make sure you have a lead source. For this simple demo, I'm just going to click OK here. And the event, the process has triggered. Do you see it on the pending tab? There is my, let's just click off that preview tab. There is my chase new lead subject phone call for user student to chase up this particular contact in 4 days' time. We're currently the 28th of November, so it's going to be scheduled for 2nd of December. There we are, a very simple example of automated process. Now I have glossed over so many options, but the essentials are there. The process is created. The process consists of one or many events. Each event has a trigger and an action. When the trigger condition is met, the action takes place. Quite simple, no programming required. Now, if you do want help there, if you're contemplating getting extra productivity out of your GoldMine system, please try automated processes. When we haven't been involved with GoldMine implementations, we often find that users just really aren't aware of the automated process thing. And truly, if you just put in a little bit of investment of your time in thinking about them and then implementing them, it can pay so many dividends. And it just keeps working year in, year out, going forward. So you only create it once, and as long as the process doesn't change, you don't need to dabble and amend the process. All right, so that's an example process. I hope you found that interesting. If you've got any questions around this feature, type your question into the question section on the meeting control panel. I'll do my best to answer that. Question from Megan. What if the record created? Oh, okay. Yeah. What if the record created is not a prospect and does not need follow-up? Well, that would be, okay, there's a few ways of doing this. That would be an example of a preemptive event. So the process is automatically attached to this new record, or attached to a record, but maybe this record is a supplier. You know, it's not a prospect, it's a supplier. They don't need chasing up by a salesperson. So you'd have a preempt event that said, okay, so in your GoldMine system, you've got to have some kind of contact field. Something somewhere has to show automated processes that this is not a new lead. So you just got a preemptive event in there saying, okay, if contact type is supplier, remove process, remove track. Quite straightforward. So yeah, that would be an example of a preemptive event there. But again, obviously test it, make sure it works. Looks like I've got a couple of questions from Drew. We have salespeople allocated based on product interest. How can we make sure the right person gets the right call? Okay, so if you've got, well, the most common way of tracking product interests is a contact record field called interest or product, whatever. You have a drop down list of the product areas. So there's a configuration file in GoldMine. We have handled this on previous one-on-ones. There's a configuration file in GoldMine. And so whenever you type in a new record and somebody the person creates a record, puts in the product interest, maybe from the drop-down list, GoldMine will automatically select from a list of the salespeople you've got the right person that should handle that should look after that lead. Your automated process will take the username from that field. All right. So basically, that's how it's done. There are a few things to think about, but that's the basics of how it's done. All right. So that configuration file, it's called a lookup.ini, just to be a bit technical, and that is like a lookup table. So all of your different products that you've got, think of it like a 2-column list. So first column is the product name. Second column is the user, the GoldMine user. And that makes sure that the right person gets that phone call. Next question from Drew. When we go to exhibitions, we have a bunch of leads we import into GoldMine. How can we have this process or similar work on multiple records? Well, the import processing GoldMine doesn't. I'm pretty sure it won't allow you to, at the end of it, automatically attach an AP. It needs testing. That little new button that I created, that might attach that process automatically. I'm 50%. I need to test it myself. I'm 50%. I'm thinking it will, and 50% thinking it may not. It might be, to be sure, it might be a 2-step process, Drew. And so you import the records, then you have a filter of those newly created records. Maybe you've got 200 leads from a show, and typically the lead source will all be the same. So show blah, 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 2024. And then that's a filter. And then once the automated process is defined, you can attach the process to multiple records within a filter, and then off it goes. It's triggered, basically. So that's how that's done. Or you could, yeah, so that'd be a process. I guess you could also use the bulk scheduler call as well as another option. If you just wanted a phone call, you didn't want to bother doing an automated process, then you could just use just a bulk schedule, group schedule a call to records within a filter. But of course, then you need to think that this whole example here is about chasing new leads. What happens if the phone call is not done? All right. So again, there's so many ways of doing this in GoldMine, but there might be another event, okay, to to flag something to a manager, or maybe it updates a field to give some kind of warning or an alert that this record a new lead, and they haven't been contacted in 2 weeks, for example. So yeah, a few ways of doing that. Thanks very much for those questions. Right, latest news as of late November 2024. Latest version of GoldMine is 2024.4. You've got to be on a maintenance contract to get access to upgrades. When you're upgrading, just think about your checklist for upgrading. Make sure you know what version you're on right now. Make sure you got your serial number, account number, and then access the Avanti portal credentials to download the software. We can assist you with that. Then just review the migration steps with Wizard Systems, or consult with Wizard Systems. We can do the whole thing for you if you don't want to do that. Are you using any integrated applications, making sure they're going to work with the new version as well? So yeah, just doing a few checks before you apply the upgrade, but it's really simple. Have you been using GoldMine for umpteen years and you think you might have fallen into a few bad habits, or you think it's not working too well for you? And it could be, if you consult with people like Wizard Systems, with all of our multiple years experience of CRM and GoldMine, maybe we'll get together. We could come up with some suggestions on better use of GoldMine there, or upgrades and updates. So contact us if you want an online review. That's normally done via Teams or a Zoom call. If you've got any suggestions for future topics that you think other GoldMine users would find interesting, then please contact myself or any of the team here at Wizard Systems. We'd love to hear from you. Those of you on here live, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it. Or if you're watching recording, thanks very much. And we'll catch up with you soon on another GoldMine event. Thanks so much indeed, everyone. Bye-bye.